Ladies and gentlemen, a lot of people has written to me over the last 1 year, even until now, expressing their concern that the US dollar is going to collapse and whatever holdings that they have in US dollar for US stock is going to suffer tremendously. And if indeed the US dollar is going to reach parity with Sing dollar at 1:1, they will lose at least 30%. So they're very concerned. Today, I got new data. It's going to tell you that I don't think you need to be that concerned. Let's watch on, shall we? The title of my talk today is Never Bet Against the US. And I want to say it categorically clear that the USA and the US dollar is not weak and not weakening. The world, especially DBS bank analysts, are misreading its strength. And I think this is a huge mistake. So everyone believes that the US dollar will collapse over the last 10, 20 years. It never does, okay? So every decade, there will be a prediction that the end of the dollar is here. It actually started since 1970 plus, from Nixon time to 2008 to COVID, and here we are, it still stands. The US dollar today still remains to be the world's most powerful financial dollar, and it's the most powerful financial weapon that the US have. It dominates trade, reserves, and global currency everywhere we go. And DBS bold but fundamentally wrong or unrealistic prediction that the US dollar and the Sing dollar will have a parity by 2040 has gotten a lot of people very concerned. I want to address this prediction. Today, despite all the US economy and political tariff-related chaos, the US dollar has just broke through and shoot up above $1.30 versus a Singapore dollar. And I think this is very indicative that the US dollar still has strength. That's despite the US government shutdown right now and potentially tariff somewhat, unsettled or settled at a high rate and so on. So this is a clear indication that I think those people are betting against the US dollar or the US economy. I think your bets are a bit, shaky, I would say. And at the extreme, your bets could prove you wrong and help you lose a lot of money. Well, going back to DBS, I usually don't want to bother about big companies' claim unless, those claims start to go against common sense and my prediction. Well, the DBS big claim is that the Sing dollar will reach parity with the US dollar by 2040. So, and of course, he also predicted that the GDP will hit some big numbers and STI will hit 10,000 points. Then follow that, there is Business Times analysts who further add to it. Well, I would just say these are inspiring scenarios, dreamy scenarios. I'm not even sure whether is it realistic, whether they have just fact-checked with common sense looking at the existing numbers. So from $1.30 today to depreciate to $1 is to $1 between the US dollar and Sing dollar, this is 35% appreciation fantasy of the Sing dollar. I'm not even sure is it good for Singapore and MAS will even allow that, because two things must happen, at least one of them or two things must happen. Number one is that the US dollar must weaken tremendously, or something incredible about Singapore will happen dramatically over the next 15 years for the Sing dollar to appreciate tremendously. We're going to talk about humongous amount of currency pouring into Singapore because Singapore is just so attractive a place. Singapore government opened up to huge amount of foreign investments. I don't know, family offices are moving in a big way whatsoever. And the MAS completely ignore the downside of a major appreciation of the Sing dollar. I think this is I don't even think that this is inspirational. This is delusional, right? To think that an economic outcome of this could happen, because it could actually turn out to be very bad for Singapore with a massive appreciation. just to prove my point, look at the past, okay, the past last 15 years or so, okay, we do see quite a lot of indication. When I was in US in 2011, the US dollar to Sing dollar was $1.22. Okay, I still remember $1.22. And since then, there's some ups and downs, ups and downs, ups and downs. And today we're at $1.30. Now, that's 14 years ago. 14 years, over the last 14 years, the US dollar has not depreciated. Of course, in between, there are a lot of volatility. And now suddenly we say that the next 15 years, okay, we're going to suffer a major depreciation of US dollar. Well, of course, the past doesn't necessarily predict the future. I agree. I don't see any economic reason why that will happen. In the last 15 years, the US economy has grown phenomenally strong. Okay. And we are going to predict now the next 15 years, the US economy is going to collapse. I think I think that's a bit far-fetched. So I would say that I respectfully disagree DBS prediction. And a lot of people's prediction, by the way, not just DBS. They assume a severely weakened US over the next 15 years and a flawless a flawless Singapore economy that's growing from strength to strength in a massive way. I was trying to think of only one scenario that can happen for the Sing dollar to appreciate massively. We open up our doors for massive amount of Sing dollar family offices to come in and don't check every Sing dollar. So don't check every source where they come from. Then we're going to have a lot of Ationg coming in, Fujian Pang coming in, and they will massively drive up Sing dollar. I don't think the Singapore government will allow that. I think this is the only scenario that can happen. Uncontrolled buying of the Sing dollar. Well, US is still the powerhouse, and I think there's a innovation powerhouse of AI, of innovation, of growth, and I think that's unrivaled across the world. Well, I'm not saying Singapore is going to go down. I'm just saying that Singapore can't grow that fast. Okay, and we are very vulnerable to global shocks. So I don't think this one is the one that can easily happen. Right? It can, but very, very difficult. Well, despite all the US debts and US downgrades of ratings, it's driven a lot of panic, but we don't see the US dollar collapsing. So I just want to look at the past and just say that the US is a very resilient economy. Now, there is a lot of fear of this term called de-dollarisation, which means that the US dollar will collapse because a lot of countries is trying to move away from the US dollar. And I think it is this part, the attempt part is true. The BRICS, right, has tried, the BRICS country, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa or so, and plus many countries try to kill the US dollar by moving away. They have failed, okay, in a big way. So the world trade is still dependent highly on the US dollar. And a global reserve today, almost 60% is still on US dollar. I think a lot has ramped up in gold. And I think alternative currency like Bitcoin or some other crypto, I think they still stand a very small amount. I'll just say that, the question really is not that is good, US dollar is good, but the other alternatives are all bad. The Chinese yuan, do you dare to hold your wealth in Chinese yuan? Right, the Chinese economy is questionable, okay? And they are capital control. The China government does not allow the Chinese yuan to go widely. Do you dare to hold Russian rubles? Do you want to hold Indian rupees? You want to hold euros? Okay, it's too fragmented, right? In the euros side of things, right? Small little countries like Switzerland and Sing dollar, our currency is too small in terms of circulation to become a global currency. So, and to say that Bitcoin or other crypto coins is going to be global currency, I think is even more far-fetched. So today we have got 58% of the world reserves on US dollar. I don't think there's going to be massive swing from there. I mean, this kind of myths has come out over the last, I don't know, 10, 20 years. 2010, when China economy was booming crazily, everybody said that China will replace the US as the world leading economy and things like that. We are still waiting. The dominance has basically, the challenge has basically collapsed. 2020, there's a lot of talks that crypto will replace fiat currency. I think I think there's a place for it, but not to replace mainstream currency. AI stock is a bubble. Maybe not. Yesterday I talked about it. Okay, I don't think it is. It's still powering up market. And of course, there's a lot of talks that the US dollar will lose dominance and things like that. Well, it's not happening. At least it's not happening yet, and I don't think it will. So the reason why the US dollar remains strong is not because it is perfect. It is still the trust. People trust it not because they like to trust it, because the alternative is even worse. So it is still the biggest bonds market. The rule of law is strong. Okay, military might of US is strong. Innovation is strong. So there's credibility on the US dollar compared to all the other alternatives. So for all the investors out there who are so fearful of the collapse of the US dollar, I cannot say for sure that you will never, okay? But I just think that the chances are not high for the US dollar to collapse the way that people and analysts, DBS are all saying, and of course Business Time as well. But however, risk still exists there. As I always say, try to diversify as much as possible. Try not to look at one analyst and say that this is going to be it. The key thing is this, that I'm going to bring out Warren Buffett. I think you may not trust Mr. Lu. Let's look at Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett, eternal warning, right? He says, never bet against America. Never bet against America. For hundreds of years, it's a terrible mistake to bet against America. I quote Warren Buffett, right? So they are really the innovation powerhouse of the world. No other country even come close to them. And surprisingly, every panic that we have so far over the last 5 to 10 years, those who helped through this period just grow from strength to strength in their wealth. So I cannot tell you what you should do. I'll say that I'll just continue the course that I'm going. Just ride the wave. Majority of my wealth is quite a lot of it is on the equity side is in US dollar. Okay, I feel reasonably safe, but I'm not entirely. I still have my CPF, my SRS, and all this, all spread out, and so on. Diversify, reallocate. I think I said enough. So, for those people who are fear-mongering US, congratulations, you have lost a lot of money. For those people who stay the course of time, I think you will see whether Warren Buffett's prediction will come true. Okay, with this, thank you. I'm happy to be disagreed by people. Okay, let me hear your comments, and I'll see you possibly tonight. Bye-bye.